Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here with Liz Trotter. Smart Business Moves. What is today? Tuesday the 13th. Lucky 13. Um, we are scheduled to have Perry Tait with us this afternoon. As it stands at the moment, we're having some technical difficulties. I guess China is a long way away from here, and it's probably a lot of cables and wires, and I don't know what else going on. I hope he's not being censored. But Perry's not with us at the moment, so we're gonna hold out hope for that. But at the moment, we're gonna improvise.
We're forging ahead, you guys. We're going to go forward, even in these terrible circumstances. We're going to forge ahead.
The challenge is presented to us by these unprecedented times.
Yes, good job, Tom. Hey, Marlo. Are you so sad Perry's not here? You probably didn't hear us say that we're running into some technical challenges and we're not exactly sure what's going on. So we're fingers crossed that we will still see Perry in this hour, but we just don't know. But we always have an awesome plan B planned. You know how Tom is. I like to say plan a lot of times. He's a planner. And so, he already came up with what we're going to be talking about today while we're hopefully, fingers crossed, waiting for Perry. So I'm so excited, Tom.
This is kind of like a rain delay, where the game's being delayed. You have to come up with something else. Hopefully this is better than a rerun of Bambi. It will be. We got some good stuff. Yeah. But before we jump into that, let's talk about what we're going to be doing for the balance of the week. Liz, you want to tell us about our guest tomorrow?
No, why don't you talk about Don, Tom, because you know him well.
Okay. I met Don a long time ago. He's a Vistage speaker, so he travels all over the country and speaks to Vistage groups. And I don't know, this was probably 10 years ago. And he used to be a plaintiff's attorney, and he made his living basically suing companies like ours for labor dispute type issues, EEOC issues, compensation issues, a myriad of things. And as he tells the story, one day he got up and looked in the mirror and decided that he didn't want to do that anymore, and started a company doing HR consulting work for businesses like ours, basically giving us information to help us not get in a situation where we're going to be sued. And Liz just disappeared. And this is one of those days. Maybe we are being censored. Did you get censored, Liz?
We've been having internet trouble today. We have weather problems going on, but we haven't had any problems for like the last hour. So it didn't occur to me to tell you that, yeah, Tom, you might lose me today as well.
Okay.
Tom, stop rocking. It'll be okay.
I'm fine. You know me, I'm a rocker. So Don's going to be with us tomorrow, and he's going to be telling us how to show up in a time of crisis. And he is a pro, and he makes his living traveling around the country speaking, and to have him here to share with us. And I guess this is really kind of a sneak peek, because he's going to be presenting at the ARCSI convention as well. Is that not right, Liz?
Yep, he sure is. I believe he is a live speaker as well, which, the only real big difference between the live speakers and the others is the live speaker has a Q&A afterwards. There's 15 minutes of Q&A time, at least 15 minutes of Q&A time at the end of their presentation. So you get to, engage with the presenter versus the on-demand. They're just videos that you'll download. I shouldn't say just videos, because they're actual presentations, but there is no live element to them. So yeah, Don will be live.
Awesome. And Thursday is going to be on the spot, our rapid fire Q&A session. We're going to have a secret guest. Liz, do you have a clue for us today?
Well, I mean, I could give it, except that Marla already knows who it is because she already guessed his initials. She was right. Day one, she got it with my really bad hint that he's not boiled. She got it. I thought it would be harder because the pronunciation is not the same as the spelling, which is my clue for today. For those of you that did not get it, the pronunciation of I almost said his name again, of this person's name, of his last name, is not the same as the spelling of his last name. I mean, it obviously is the same, but if you were to read it, he gets it mispronounced all the time.
Yep.
See, Marlo knows who it is. Y'all teeth right there. That just so you know, Marlo, doesn't that little emoticon remind you of me with all those teeth? I don't know anybody that has teeth as much as I do for days. Well, that probably helps. So I talked to another one of your good friends today, Marlo. I talked to Trisha today for a little bit. Good to talk to her.
I haven't seen Trish in a while. How is she doing?
She's doing well. Yeah, she's doing real well. I only talked to her for about a half hour, but it was a good little chat. Hadn't talked to her in a while.
Well, while we're, holding out hope that Perry might be able to work through the issues and join us, we thought maybe this would be a good opportunity for us to jump into the archives of Cleaning Business Today and talk a little bit about what all is here. I mean, you go to Cleaning Business Today and we have a lot of, recent content, and a lot of this is the Smart Business Moves videos. If you go to YouTube, by the way, I don't know if everybody knows this, but if you go to YouTube and do a / Cleaning Business Today.
Did you write that whole thing out? Yep. Did you?
Did I do what?
Did you write the whole thing out, Cleaning Business Today? It looks really short.
Yeah, it's YouTube / Cleaning Business Today, all one word.
Okay, good.
I'll copy
Don.
it and I'll put that. Hello, Don. How are you? I'll paste it in the chat. You can go back and look at all of the Smart Business Move videos. Holy cow. It's a bunch of them, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Oh, that one from Sharon Grammer, I really need to go look at again.
Yeah. Oh.
Hey, Rosemary.
This is when we're doing some of the casual stuff here. I was working the flannel shirt.
That's when you weren't actually working.
I was.
You closed down for a while.
Anyway, there's some stuff there. One of the things that we were talking about before we went live is in the early days of Cleaning Business Day, when we've been doing Cleaning Business Today, I guess, for 7 years,
maybe.
April
was the number popped in.
April 1st, 2013 was when we started it. When would that be?
Well, that's 7 years. 7.5.
Wow. We did a bunch of KPI videos. And if you just go up in here, search, if you're looking for something, you can type in, who knows? If you're looking for something, there's a decent chance you're going to find something related to it here in Cleaning Business Today. I don't know, last time I checked, there's probably close to 1,500 articles that have accumulated here. If I type KPI, it'll pull up a number of the KPI videos that we've done in the past. Now, I don't know if you've seen these or not.
Yeah, pull up a couple. They're very cool.
They're pretty quick. I'll play one. You kind of get a feel. Hi, I'm Tom Stewart with Cleaning Business Today. In our last KPI tip, we built a spreadsheet which would track turnover rates. In this tip, we're going to show you how to take the data out of that spreadsheet and turn it into a graph. A graph oftentimes makes it easier to see which way your numbers are moving and to find trends. Excel's pretty smart at doing this. The first thing you would do is just highlight your dates, and I'm going to use my mouse and drag down starting at December 2013 all the way through our most recent month. I'm going to hold down the Control key and now highlight my annual turnover rates. I'm going to go up to Insert, and I'm going to click on Line Graph and just click on Line, and bam, I've got a graph. Where it says Series 1, we'd probably be better off to actually put the title of what that is. And to do that, we're going to do a right-hand click and say Select Data. And where I've got Series 1, I'm going to say Edit. And for the name, I'm going to say Annual Turnover Rate, Total 12 month, and say OK. And that will show up there and also here. But since I only have one line on this graph, I don't need that, so I'm going to delete that, and I have a graph that you can print, share with your staff, and use this to track on a month-to-month basis which way your turnover rate is trending. And you can see, as a rule, it's going down, which is a good thing. In this particular technique of developing graphs, you can apply this to most of the KPI tips that we share. I hope that you find this KPI tip helpful. Thank you for watching Cleaning Business Today. You know, some of these were two-parters, and if this was like November of 14, if you'd have saw October of 14, we would have shown you how to start from scratch to get to those numbers. It's kind of interesting. This is doing the graph. This is the tracker. Can I show that too? Because it'll make the graph a little more, make it a little more sense.
Yeah.
You hear the barking?
I do. Now that you say that.
Molly's having a dream.
Oh, how cute. Chasing rabbits.
Chasing rabbits. Hi, I'm Tom Stewart with Cleaning Business Today. In today's KPI tip, we're going to show you how to calculate your employee turnover rate and measure it as it changes on a month-to-month basis. We're going to start off with a couple of pieces of data that you can get from either your payroll service provider or your software that you use to do your payroll calculations. We need your monthly employee headcount. We also need the number of employees that left your company in that same given month. I'm going to have data here in this example going back starting to January of 2013. I'm going to go down to December 13. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to do a summation of 12 months from January through December of 13. This number here is the trailing 12-month total. I'm also going to do that number for the number of people who left the company. I'm going to take the number of people that left, and I'm going to divide it by the total of employees, and that gives me a number of 5%. I'm going to take the 5% and I'm going to multiply it times 12, which gives me an annual turnover rate of 59%. And I guess I can just back this out and show a decimal place here just to give you some idea of what's happening with the rounding. I'm going to drag that down to this month here. And you can see our annual turnover rate actually is getting better because we were losing fewer employees. And this is our equivalent annual turnover rate. And you can update this every month. Next month, I'm going to show you how you can take this spreadsheet and this data and create a pretty cool graph that you can use to measure your employee retention performance. I hope that you found this KPI tip helpful. Thank you for watching Cleaning Business Today. If you noticed, I did several things in that video. There's some other KPI tips that talk about this a lot more. A lot of the graphs that we do 12-month rolling averages, or sometimes it's 3-month rolling averages, as opposed to the raw number each month. You ever do a graph and the numbers are just flying all over the place and it's kind of really hard to see a trend? Well, if you do rolling averages where, you know, if you do a 12-month rolling average, then, you know, you add this month's numbers and you drop last year's, you know, month's numbers off and divide by 12, you get a much smoother graph and you can actually see trends a lot better. And like in a 12-month, you're basically, you know, dropping off last September's
Right.
numbers and adding this September's numbers if we're doing it now, which is
Yeah.
really an apples and apples comparison. It's a much more useful way in a lot of cases to look at data and to graph data. And we do that in a lot of the KPI videos.
That makes good sense to me too, because you're working with your most up-to-date information. And if you were to keep all of the historical information, then the numbers actually diluted for what it actually is today. So that makes good sense to me. I like that.
We've got.
So did you put the link, Tom? You did, right? You have cleaning business today. And then just do a search for KPIs. These things, you guys you see how short they are, right? But there's a bunch of them and they're cool. The thing I like about them too is because they're videos, if you're like, wait, what is he doing? He said he was doing what right there? You just pause, go back, do it again. Maybe you can replay it 4 times, because I know that sometimes, like Tom, you're talking about, so I take this number, but what it looks like you're typing in is because what shows up in the screen is the cell number, not the number that you're actually putting in. So sometimes it can be like, especially if you're not used to working in Excel, it looks like you're typing the wrong information in there. Like,
Okay.
And the reason why I'm saying that is when I first saw you doing it in person, I think we were in Cincinnati the first time you were doing this on a really big screen. And the numbers that you were typing in were very close to the cells, but they were always off by 1. And it was taking me forever to figure out what is he doing there? How is he doing that? He's off by 1, but it always pops up right. And I was doing the math myself behind the scenes, trying to figure out what you were getting and what the right numbers were. And they were right. Took me forever.
The whole idea behind the KPI videos is to show how to use Excel spreadsheets to generate a lot of useful, you know, numbers that you need in your business, but not just give you the solutions, but show you how you can start from scratch and build it yourself. A lot of the videos basically start off with like a blank spreadsheet, and we just build it as we're kind of talking through it. This might be something I need to revive and do some more of these. I haven't done these in a long time. Oops, this was the wrong one.
I think they're super helpful too if your whatever program that you're using to collect your data, whether it's scheduling, QuickBooks, whatever it is, if you can't get good reports out of your software, then this is a great way to be able to get data you have to have good data, but you can make some decent reports if you have good data.
And even, you know, regardless of what software you're using, you know, QuickBooks has got a ton of, you know, decent reports. Not to, you know, well, I'll plug Made Central a little bit. We've got a ton of awesome reports, but I'm forever exporting data out of both of those and further manipulating it to get, you know, deeper insight into a particular question or problem. So, you know, I'm a big advocate that if you're a cleaning business owner, you need to know, you know, some basic Excel skills, you know, how to set up a spreadsheet and how to build formulas and manipulate data. And you can get as crazy with it as you want to. But the cool thing about Excel is you can go to YouTube and just type, you know, basic tutorials. Or if you're looking to do something in particular, you don't know how to do it, you know, there's a YouTube video out there that will show you. These are all of the videos that are currently out there. And I guess we did it for a couple of years. When I got lazy, Liz. I don't know what happened here. But
no, Knowing you had something new that you had to get done.
Yeah, something got in the way. Um, here's one on how to calculate the lifetime value of a customer, and here's the link there for that. There were a couple of sheets here, like in December of 13, just how to do rolling averages, and I think it's really important to understand. Once you understand how to do like monthly, 12-month, this is how to do a 12-month moving average or 52-week moving average, and both of those have applications. I think we just saw the video on this part one, this is part one, this was part two.
I think they're super helpful for anybody that is willing to put in just a little bit of time to get that information. You never find anybody that's like, yeah, I started doing that, but it was a waste of my time. That's just not something anybody says. So, and usually the hardest part for people is just doing it the first time. Just get in there and do it. And then it's like, wow, this data is awesome. Okay. And then you want to continue doing it.
In this example, this is like revenue for a 52-week period, and it's a rolling average. And if you graph the raw number, it's the red line. And if you're just looking at the red line, you don't really know if you're getting better or getting worse. It's just confusing. But if you do a 52-week rolling average, you see how smooth the line gets.
That's what that is. Nice.
Yeah. So you're getting better, not by leaps and bounds, but at least it's moving in the right direction.
I have a lot of people ask me about how do they know if they can afford to hire somebody, or how do they know if they can afford, like, it's usually if they can afford to hire like an operations manager or some indirect labor. Do you have something like that? I remember you having something. Is that in here? If not, could we get it?
I don't know if it's in here, but it might be somewhere.
That's just a perennial topic. People always want it.
Wait a minute. I got something that might help.
I'm gonna shout out here to a couple people. I can't type. That's okay. I'll tag them in this live. You get it in there.
I had that. It's the wrong deck. I know where it is. I got too many decks.
I'm always surprised that you can find things as quickly as you can, because I know you have a ton of stuff. I have much less, and I struggle to find myself stuff as quickly as you do.
Okay.
Where's this from?
This was Juno Summit.
Oh, no wonder it looks familiar. I'm like, I feel like I've just seen this.
If you have QuickBooks set up correctly, and I'll say this, I think there's only, I'm not a real prescriptive type person. It's like, well, you'll have different ways to bake a cake, but you really want to have your QuickBooks set up in a way where you're able to break out your variable costs from your fixed costs. And In accounting terms, your variable costs, and I talk variable costs, a variable cost is a cost that when you clean one extra home, you've got a little more extra expense. Your biggest variable cost is your direct labor, the amount of money you pay people cleaning homes. So if you're cleaning one more home, obviously you're going to have to pay, another cleaner, another team, some amount of money more to clean that last home, right? That's your biggest variable cost. The taxes and insurance and so on that go along with that are variable cost as well. A little bit for transportation, a little bit for cleaning supplies. In this example, I've got a company that's doing $100,000 in revenue in 1 month. Their variable costs are $62,000, or 62% of the revenue is going to variable cost. That's called cost of goods sold. Okay. You take cost of goods sold and subtract it from your revenue. That leaves you gross profit. So the way this works is you've got revenue. Out of the revenue, you subtract your cost of goods sold. You've got operating expenses. Your cost of goods sold is a percentage of your revenue. Every time your revenue goes up, your variable costs go up, your cost of goods sold goes up. That percentage of cost of goods sold to revenue should be fairly constant. One of the numbers that we always talk about and track, it's really important. I think last week, one of the questions came up, what are the 3 most important numbers that you need to track? And one of them I mentioned was payroll to revenue. Doing this whole cost of goods sold thing is a little bit of work, and it's not a really quick number to pull together. But if you can just take your payroll for your direct labor, for the people that are cleaning homes, and if you want to know how to do that, there's a KPI video for this. I can show you where that is, and subtract. Take that payroll and divide it by the revenue that payroll generated. And a lot of times there's a matching issue. The payroll for this week was generated revenue that was realized last week. So you need to make sure you're matching the payroll to the right week of revenue. And that gives you that percentage. Anyway, once you subtract that variable cost, you got that operating expense. That should be a fixed cost. That's your rent. That's some of your other overhead, your space costs. If you've got some vehicle leases and other things. And it's not always exactly fixed, but it doesn't always go up and down. If you've got, some office help, your whoever does your payroll and your scheduling and so on and so forth. You book one more job and clean one more home, your rent doesn't go up, your receptionist salary doesn't go up. So that's kind of why they're considered fixed.
Okay, so Tom, I get this question a lot from people. So your VA then, your VA would be an indirect, right?
Part of operating expenses.
Even though they're not in your office, and it feels to a lot of people, I know that they are part of the direct labor, because this argument has come up multiple times. Yeah, but they are out there and they're the ones that are creating the new jobs, especially if it's a salesperson. So I have more expenses because of this person, but I also get more sales. So they feel like it's the same. So what's my smart business reasoning for why they are indirect?
Because they aren't generating revenue. They're not cleaning homes.
Okay, so is it just because they're not cleaning homes? Because the argument is, but they are generating revenue. They're calling people and they're making the revenue come in.
They are, in some form or fashion, the person who's doing your laundry, the person that's doing your bookkeeping, everybody in some form or fashion is making a contribution. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times their pay is the same regardless. Ask your question, do I have to pay that person more if I clean one extra home? If the
you had told me that before. So I said that and they're like, yes, because when we book the job and we actually clean the home, then they get paid a bonus.
Okay. Well, that bonus part you might want to consider to be variable then.
Okay.
But, but,
Okay.
I'm, but I'm assuming there's also some
A much larger portion that is not.
right.
Okay.
If
That's
you
super helpful.
if you doubled the amount of homes that you were cleaning in that week, would their pay double? Probably not. It would probably be some modest improvement. Whereas your cleaning professionals in aggregate, their pay would double if you doubled the number of homes you were cleaning.
Okay. So what I have been saying is they are not actually, the salespeople are not actually generating revenue. They are just providing the opportunity for someone else to generate the revenue. Because yes, they bring on the job, but they don't themselves generate any revenue because until those homes actually get cleaned, nothing, there is no money.
Oh. Does the expense associated with that person go up in proportion to, cleaning one more home? And, okay, if there's a bonus or something, I mean, is that material in the whole scheme of things? Probably.
If they were only commission, maybe.
If they were 100% commission, yeah, you can go ahead and call it.
And they would be.
Okay. The whole idea is when you get to this guy right here, you want to have the numbers that go up and down with every home you clean, every dollar you generate. You want that up here because it's a percentage of the revenue you generate versus your telephone expense, your vehicle expense, your salaries, your advertising. If I clean one extra home, those numbers don't change in any material way, if at all.
Right.
Because here's the magic to this, and this is the part that's really cool, and I'm getting to the point where
the other question. Yeah.
I'm going to answer your question, but I got to go through this mess to do it.
It's okay. I know you are.
38% of every dollar that I generate in this model goes to this thing called gross profit. So what I got to do first and foremost is have enough money left over after I cover all my variable costs to cover this $30,000 down here, because this $30,000 is operating expense, okay? So I'm going to go back over to here, say, where's my other one? These numbers are different. Okay, so I got my $100,000. I've got to cover my direct expense, and that's going to be $62,000. That leaves out $38,000. I got to pay off this these operating expenses next out of this $38,000. Bang, I got $8,000 left over that I can call profit, okay? So if you're asking yourself, can I hire an office manager or a receptionist or, whatever type of...
Can I afford responsibility? Can I afford all of these other things?
Well, you got to know what is your cost of goods sold as a percent of revenue. You got to know what this fixed expense number is down here, and you have to do the arithmetic to figure out how much money is left over here. And that's how much money you've got to play with. That's right. Money you can either put in your pocket, or that's money that you can reinvest in whatever it is that you want to reinvest in. So this is how the math works. If you take your fixed expense, in this case, $30,000, and if you divide it by your percent cost of goods sold, which is this 38% here, you get this number, 78,978. That is your break-even revenue number. So if this is all the revenue that you're generating each month, then you can't afford to buy anything more because you're just breaking even, okay? But once you know that, then every extra dollar you're generating above this, call it $79,000 to make it easy, 38 cents of it's going in your pocket. And to put it in context, I mean, this is all, but if you got a bill rate of $100, then You can do your weekly break, so you need 789 jobs to break even on a weekly basis. You divide this number by 4.3333, because if you remember, there's a little more than 4 weeks exactly in a month. It's 4 1/3 weeks, and that 0.333 makes a difference. That's 18,000 in revenue, or 182 jobs. On a daily basis, it's 36 jobs. So when you're doing your scheduling and that, customer wants to skip or cancel, it's like, oh, what the heck? I'm still doing 35 jobs that day. It's like, whoa, no, it's not the 35 that you're doing. Profits in the margin. That one customer difference between, breaking even or losing money that day. So you got to work really hard to not let that happen. And every one above it means an extra $36 in your pocket in this model.
Laura Smith used this model really well in a lot of different ways. One of the things that she always did was when she was having this back, of course, before she had Aja, but when she was having trouble with operations managers or just any of her indirect labor, she would look at these numbers and she would decide based on that profit number what she was going to do. And many times I saw her say, you know what, I'm just going to fire that person. I'm going to cut their labor out and I'm going to do that job because I can do it a lot better and I can do it a lot faster. And I will create a better training program for the next person. And I'm going to have that extra whatever amount of money every month. Mm-hmm. So, and she just would put that money at the bottom and be like, yep, that's going to be my money. So she used it really well. I liked the way she worked with it.
If you're trying to, a lot of times you're just trying to pay the bills. I don't have enough money to pay all my bills. What am I going to do? We typically gravitate down here to things called operating expense. And I'm talking to this P&L the way this is the way everybody has their P&L. I see a lot of companies. I work with a lot of companies, and a lot of them have their direct expense and their indirect expense all jumbled up, just treated as expenses. In QuickBooks, there's a category called cost of goods sold that you can assign to accounts. It's often not used, but you want to do that. You want to break it out, because if you do that, then you'll be able to print your P&L and it'll look like this, and you can actually use it for something more than house cleaning trivia. You can use it to manage your business. But once you get this, it's like, well, gee, maybe I can get a better deal on window cleaner, or do I really need as much copy paper as I'm buying? And it's easy because there's no pushback, and there's basically, you're just shopping, looking for a deal, and maybe you can cut some hours in the office, and that's always a possibility. But if you look at where your expenses typically lies, the whole Willie Sutton thing, why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is. The money is in the direct labor side, and how you often can make the biggest impact is by doing things up here on the cost of goods sold side, by doing better training, by doing better scheduling, by doing more accurate pricing, by selling high frequency recurring service sets, all the things that you do from a productivity and efficiency standpoint to lower this cost of goods percentage. And there's other examples and spreadsheets, if we really want to do a deep dive on this sometime, that you can make a ton more money and clean fewer homes doing it if you're managing this cost of goods sold number. And because if you lower that number, then that's just more money out of every job that you have left over to pay these other expenses and the pre-tax profits. But
so then you get to break even.
That's the part though that I think a lot of times as cleaning business owners, we're reluctant to dive into that. It's hard. A lot of times it's confrontational, or you've got to basically have discussions and motivate and change behavior in your business in a lot of different ways. It's a lot harder than trying to find a cheaper vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. And sometimes it does make sense to hit your operating expenses too. If you see that you have supply costs that are 8% and everybody else has 3% and supply costs, yeah, absolutely. Get rid of that other 5% because that 5% can make a difference. But for the majority of the time, the numbers are so small and the difference that you can make. Changing between the tall can of Barkeeper's Friend at Walmart versus the short can at Home Depot and buying more and all the math and the time and the energy to save that $12 a month, it probably is not the best use of your time, my time.
No, it's not.
But one thing that did really help me one time that I looked at, and that was gas. That was back when I guess I should have probably had fuel. I saw that you had transportation up there, Tom. Fuel up in the direct, and I think I had my fuel down my indirect labor. But I was able to make a pretty substantial difference by, believe it or not, just having all of my cars gassed up at Costco, even though it seemed like it was only pennies on the dollar. So it's kind of the reverse of what we were saying before, saving just a few pennies. But when you're getting that much gas every single month, it did make a big difference.
Yeah, it all counts. No doubt that it all counts. But I just think that there are a lot of times there's a lot of missed opportunity in better managing that cost of goods sold. And I talk to some people and they don't want to do it because it's hard. And I mean, I don't say it that way, but it really comes down to that. And it's like, you know what? Running a cleaning business is hard. And if you're going to go to all that trouble to run a cleaning business, why don't you do these couple other things that will actually let you generate,
Make money.
The value that you deserve. You're doing 95% of the work. Do this extra 5%, you'll have a whole lot more to show for it.
Because it's always in that last little bit is where the big money is made. Not in the beginning. Yeah, well, I do love all those, you guys. So check out Cleaning Business Today. Check out all those different KPI spreadsheets. There's a ton of them. Also, if you haven't been on all of the Facebook Lives, if you are not Marlo or Leslie or Denise, and you haven't seen every single Facebook Live we've ever done, go check out that library in YouTube because they're all there, and there are some really great ones in there that you don't want to miss.
There's a video that everything that I just showed you there, I could have probably just played this video and gotten you to the same place. I'll drop this here in terms of how to calculate the break-even point. How to build
that's one of the metrics that we track in the MMA groups, and it's the one that people fight with the most. They just don't want to do it. It's harder, like you said. This is a harder one to get to, and so they just don't. They do the other ones, but they just leave this one go. I have to harp on people almost every month. I'm harping on somebody every single month.
Yeah. I mean, it's strategic. It's important, and not to say that you can't run a successful business without this. I mean, what did we talk about last week? The question was, what are the three important ones? So it's, break-even point, it's monthly attrition rate on your clients, and it's the amount of recurring revenue that you're stacking week over week. And there are other metrics that are important too. And you can make a lot of money in this industry without tracking any of those, but it's almost an accident. I mean, if you're in the right place at the right time and you guess right and things line up and bam, you can make money. because those numbers are just coincidentally, your cost of goods sold just as coincidentally below 50%, let's say, and you're making a good gross profit relative to the revenue that you're generating, and it all just kind of works. But it's just equally as likely that you might find yourself with a cost of goods sold at 80%. You don't know. All you know is that you're cleaning a ton of homes and you don't have anything left over at the end of the day to show for it. And without those numbers, you'll never know.
Well, that is the big argument against tracking the break-even number. It's if, which, and I've given everybody a break on this, so they don't have to calculate their break-even as long as they have a decent net profit that they can live with. So if you don't like your net profit number, then you have to do your break-even number, because you need to find out where that is, so that you know how many jobs are standing between you and no longer having a profit. So,
but if QuickBooks is set up correctly, and maybe that's a bad assumption or a big if, it is so easy. You just take this number, divide it by that number, and bang, you're done. Right?
yeah.
So I'm not naive, I guess. I don't.
But you're forgetting that means that people have to log into QuickBooks and they have to look at all of those numbers that they don't want to look at. They might see other numbers that they don't want to see. Tom, we both know people that just don't ever go to QuickBooks because it's just scary to even go there.
Okay. Well, let's forget about that. If you know your payroll to revenue number, and you really do need to know that number. That's one of the big three,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That gets back to the whole PPPE concept, pay, price, productivity, and efficiency. Payroll to revenue is I guess a corollary to that. And if you know that, for all practical purposes, you can use that as a proxy for your cost of goods sold. And take the inverse of that, and that's your gross profit percentage, and you can still, divide that into your operating expense and get a pretty good idea as to what your break-even revenue is, and divide that by your average job cost.
Yeah, I do let them get away with just, if they know their payroll percent of revenue and they know what their profit is, then they don't have to figure out break-even.
Yeah. I guess I'm spoiled. I mean, I've got all those numbers in Made Central. It kind of does all that math for you. But,
Yeah.
if you can.
Don't be a show off now, Tom.
I mean, it's not that. I'm saying, if you're doing your scheduling on a desk calendar, it's not terribly difficult. You're having to pay people. So it's kind of hard to imagine that you don't know what your gross payroll is. And you'd subtract from that.
No, but revenue, remember, people don't track revenue well. I had at least 3 people in the MMA group, and this is in the success group, not the growth group, that couldn't tell me what their revenue was, because they're like, well, I know I have some checks at home on my nightstand, and I'm pretty sure that I have some money in credit cards that it hasn't gone into the bank, or yeah, Linda is saying I'm a taskmaster. Yeah, I kind of am. But I mean, there are people that literally don't know what their revenue is. So that's why I'm saying, Tom, for you, it seems so easy, but for a lot of people, it's not easy. That's why I'm saying, watch the videos, keep doing them. I don't know if Dawn is still on here, but when you first started looking at your numbers at Foundations, you can attest how many people struggled. It was so hard. But once you get used to it, you start looking at them more and more and more. They start looking more comforting and more normal, and they're not as scary. But it's the not knowing that's really scary.
Right. And everything about it.
Money.
Running a cleaning business is hard. I mean, that's my argument to that. I mean, it's not. Some things aren't negotiable. I mean, if you don't do it, then basically you're just keeping your fingers crossed. And I see people getting by that way. And I see people, some people are lucky and they make a lot of money that way.
Yep.
But it's almost an accident. And if things change, you don't know it's changing until one day you look in your bank account and there's no money there.
And that's another thing that's really tricky about this business because of the way it cash flows, where there's money always coming in. It can take a while until you realize that you've been going bankrupt and you just didn't even realize it. You really don't have money. You just feel like you have money. That's very common too. Very common. I've seen that a lot.
People saying, how'd you go broke? And it was like, well,
$1 at a time.
Slow at first and then really fast at the end.
There was this like it was called the Fruit Bowl, and it was a place that made fresh fruit smoothies, and it was awesome, yummy smoothies. Yeah, sorry, Linda. Sorry, not sorry. And but the smoothies were like $15 a piece. They were not huge. Sometimes if you went in there, they didn't have all of the fruit that was on their menu.
Wait a minute. $15? $15
a piece. They were not huge.
How much alcohol were in these?
Yeah, no.
Really?
And they were by all of the state businesses. So everything around there is kind of pricey anyway. We have a lot of state businesses and state offices, I mean. And people don't have a lot of time to travel, so they just stay in this little area. So they'll spend decent money. But these smoothies were $15. They were fresh, but sometimes when you would go in there, the fruit was not as fresh looking because it had been around. The bananas were really brown, and the grapes had the brown on the ends, and they didn't have some of the fruit that you wanted. You'd order, a kiwi smoothie. They say, oh, sorry, we don't have any kiwis. And Tim, I was like, I want to go there. I want to support them. Some really nice people, really, really nice couple. And, this was their first business. And I'm like, I want to support them. I want to help them out. And Tim's like, no, you cannot go there, honey. You can't. And he's like, you are just prolonging the agony. How long is it going to take them to realize that they are going bankrupt? They're going to be so much further in debt if you keep throwing $15 a smoothie at them. I was like, and I was like, he's right. That's the worst, is when you don't even know. And they limped along like that for, I don't know, 2 years. And when they left, it was just sort of tragic. By the time they left, all they had for their smoothies was like bananas and strawberries, some frozen blueberries, and that was all you could get. I was like, and the prices had been slashed from 15 to 12 to 10 to 8. Now you can get a smoothie basically for $2, but it was rotten bananas and strawberries. It was really sad. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that side of it where, sometimes you can get lucky and the numbers just kind of work in your favor. And a lot of times you aren't lucky and the numbers aren't working in your favor, but you aren't doing the hard stuff. You aren't doing this stuff. So you aren't able to, even identify what changes you need to make in order to make it work right. And, it's hard, it's miserable. And, if you're not going to do this, sometimes the most humane thing is just to, pack it up and go do something else. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, markets, I mean, there's a tons of reasons why this is hard. I mean, it's not, all because, well, we just didn't pull the numbers together. I don't mean to boil it down to that, but this is definitely a necessary component of it if you want predictable outcomes.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all in agreement there, Tom.
Okay. Well, hopefully that little nugget that these KPI videos are buried in Cleaning Business Today can be useful. I'll drop a link to the YouTube videos as well.
And I actually like that is an easy way to answer the question, about whether or not people can really afford their this new office manager that they're trying to get. I know somebody that is right now looking at hiring I guess it's an office manager, and she wants to know if she can afford $50,000 a year. So I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure Tom has some type of spreadsheet on that, but this is so simple to do. We'll just have her do this.
What's your?
She has all this info already. She's actually in Maine Central, so it'll be even easier. Yeah.
Should be.
Yeah.
So what you been up to, Liz? What you been working on?
I have been creating presentations. I've got presentations for Artsy. I've got 2 presentations for them. I have a presentation for a retreat that I'm going on. I have, what's that other one? Oh, another presentation for my local chamber. And then I have my EPDM videos that I'm creating, the employee, can't even think what it is now.
But it's awesome. I know it's great.
Production development and management system employee. So yeah, I've been calling it the EPDM now for so long that that's just how I think of it. But it is those videos are challenging. That's an entire training around that thing. So I feel like that, Heather. See this face? I look tired. That's not just the white light today.
So you're recording this training. You're shooting videos with this training.
Yeah. There's PowerPoints, and now I have to create all the videos to go with them. So, because they all go one into the other, and there's 12 modules, so it's not a small program. It's a big program. So that's a lot of work. So I'm creating a lot of presentations right now, PowerPoint presentations, and that's pretty much how I'm spending my life. Yeah, and we're making a lot of changes over here at American Made right now. We're transitioning our people over. So most people know that we worked multi-size teams, but people thought of us as like a large team company because sometimes we did work in like teams of 5. Although the thing nobody ever talks about is we've worked in teams of 15 before. Nobody ever talks about that. But we have worked in very, very large teams before. But we're transitioning down a bunch of our workforce into solos. So that's been a big transition. So, and solos get paid percentage. So that's a different thing as well, so we're going from multi-size teams because our typical teams normally would run about a team size of 3, but up to 5, and obviously up to even bigger when we bring multiple teams together for a reason. But even going from those sizes down to a team of 1. Whoa, Tom, we're late. Don't look all too well. Smile always looks beautiful. They smile all the time. Well, thanks, Heather. Appreciate that. Yeah. Distraction.
So, yeah, it is. So, wow. Are you getting rid of company cars?
Well, we're still going to have some teams. I'm still going to be figuring out what I'm going to do there. I still have some cars, so there's no reason not to be using them. I still do have some teams. I'm just trying to transition over to some solos at the same time. So we'll see. We'll see how that's going to work.
Well,
yeah.
I know that you're going to be moving to some new software, and you're going to appreciate that. It's going to make it easier. Hey guys, we had to call an audible today. I hope you guys got some value out of this. It was fun going down memory lane. Tomorrow
we will get Perry on again, though. We'll figure out how to make that work, you guys. Not to worry.
What I'm thinking is, if he said if somebody got sideways with the government, they just disappear for 2 weeks. I hope he's okay.
Oh my gosh, he did say that, that they literally disappear for a couple weeks.
And he was like sharing stuff, and I'm wondering if they were. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it's all good. I'll keep you guys posted on Payroll.
Yeah.
I'll track him down. I'm sure it's all good. We'll get him on some other time. Tomorrow, Don Finn's going to be here.
Don't miss Don Finn, you guys. I know that we tell you to come and see the people, and then we don't produce them, but Don's going to be here, so come tomorrow.
Or we can look at more spreadsheets. No, Don will be here.
Yeah.
You guys take care. We'll see you tomorrow at 5 Eastern. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.